This video is sponsored by Sound Scouts, the hearing test for kids. We live in a world full of sounds, so having ears is pretty useful. The ability to hear has helped us detect possible dangers, find resources, and even make new friends. That's why not only animals have evolved this sense, but also bacteria, plants, and fungi can perceive and create different frequencies. Oh yes, there are plenty of sounds we can't hear. So today we ask ourselves, what is the loudest sound you can hear? Sound is a pressure wave that propagates by means of the vibration of an object. But what really goes on? If you snap your fingers, their movement provokes a displacement of the air particles around them, making them vibrate. Their energy is then transferred to other nearby particles and so on, propagating sound. There are areas where these vibrating particles concentrate and other areas where they disperse. So this difference in pressure forms a wave. Air particles do not move along with the wave. They just vibrate in place and the energy moves through them. So in order for sound to exist, there must be some material to transmit it. It works something like this. Imagine there are some people waiting in line at the bank, and you are going to get in that line. But you stumble at the last moment and you crash into the last person in the line. This person in turn pushes the next person in the line, and so on, like falling dominoes. The person you first bumped into did not move. They just transferred your movement to the next person, and it was only the presence of people in the line that made it possible for the movement to continue propagating, or else you would have probably hit something along the way. Sound has two dimensions that we can measure: frequency and amplitude. Frequency is measured in hertz, and it represents the number of times a sound wave is repeated in 1 second. If a wave is repeated a few times per second, the sound is low-pitched. If it is repeated many times per second, a high-pitched sound is produced. Amplitude is the displacement of air particles, and it relates to the pressure of the wave. If the wave is very broad and there is extensive particle displacement, a lot of pressure is created among them, and the sound that is produced is very loud. When there is less amplitude, there is less particle displacement, less pressure, and the sound's volume is reduced. The relation between the intensity of sound and the limit of our hearing ability is measured in decibels, the units we use when we want to determine how loud a sound is, its volume. But what use could sound have if we couldn't hear it? The outer ear catches and concentrates sound waves and directs them to the middle ear. There, the tympanic membrane vibrates when it's hit by the sound waves and moves the hammer, anvil, and stirrup. Then, with each movement of the stirrup, the liquid inside the cochlea moves as well. Inside the spiral-shaped cochlea, we have something like a rolled-up piano keyboard. Each key, so to speak, is a group of hair cells that only vibrate at specific frequencies. When the liquid in the cochlea vibrates at high frequencies, only the cells at the front move. When the liquid vibrates at low frequencies, only the hair cells at the far end of the cochlea move. When a hair cell detects its frequency, it changes mechanical movement into an electric signal that travels through the auditory nerve all the way to the auditory cortex, where it is perceived incredibly fast. The hair cells in the cochlea set the limits to our hearing range, which goes from 20 to 20,000 Hz, and defines what is called audible sound. The frequencies we can't hear because they're too low are called infrasound. Those that are too high to hear are called ultrasound. Can you imagine being able to hear all frequencies? We'd be able to hear volcanoes, earthquakes, and auroras. But it wouldn't be as nice as it sounds. A sound can be extremely loud in a frequency we can't hear. Wind can produce infrasound as loud as 100 decibels, as loud as a motorcycle. There is also a limit to the intensity of the sound that we can hear. At 125 decibels, we start to feel a sharp pain, and at 140 decibels, even for a few seconds, a loud sound can permanently damage your hearing. 165 decibels will perforate your eardrum. Prolonged noises will also damage your hearing. The safe limit is 85 decibels for 8 hours. Longer exposure can cause the death of hair cells and hearing loss. At 110 decibels, safe exposure time is less than 1 minute. Infrasound at 110 decibels causes loss of balance and changes in blood pressure and breathing rate. From 85 to 110 decibels, it wouldn't seem like that big of a difference, but the noise is more than 320 times as loud. Technically, the loudest sound that can be produced in air is 194 decibels. Louder than this, the huge amount of energy produced distorts the sound wave and it changes into a shockwave. The sound doesn't travel along the air, but it pushes it forward instead. And do you want to know what is the loudest sound humankind has ever heard? The strongest shockwave ever produced by human beings was the Tsar Bomba, a hydrogen bomb 330 times more powerful than the one dropped over Hiroshima, which was detonated in 1961 as a test. It produced 223 decibels. But that's nothing at all. The explosion of the Krakatoa volcano was recorded at 310 decibels, and it was heard from 4,800 kilometers away. It was as if a sound produced in Santiago, Chile, could be heard in the city of Panama. The infrasound wave circled the Earth 4 times and caused tsunamis. We wouldn't recommend exposing yourself to such a powerful sound because, well, you wouldn't live to tell us about it. Moreover, we've already seen that even a far less powerful sound can harm us. Half of all hearing loss cases are caused by exposure to loud noises. According to the World Health Organization, 1 billion young adults are at risk of permanent hearing loss due to unsafe practices. Of course, it's only normal that we experience hearing loss as we age. Starting at age 35, we start losing our ability to hear high frequencies. And with age, we also lose the ability to hear quieter noises, like the rustling of leaves. Even so, hearing loss by exposure to loud noises is a cause of serious concern. You may have noticed after coming home from a concert or party that the quality of sound is not as clear as usual, or you hear a muffled ringing or buzz in your ears. Concerts can reach 120 decibels, and only 10 seconds of exposure to that volume is enough to harm your ears. Personal audio devices produce between 75 and 136 decibels. 15 minutes of listening to music at 100 decibels is as harmful as exposing yourself to music at 85 decibels for 8 hours. Hearing damage progresses gradually, but it has a cumulative effect. You may not have a problem now, but hair cells exhaust themselves and die, and they won't grow back. Some signals to watch for. Do you often ask other people to repeat what they just said? Do other people complain that you watch TV or listen to music at a very high volume? Is there a buzz in your ears? Do you strain to hear what other people say? Have you lost your ability to hear the rustle of leaves in the wind or the hum of the refrigerator? Remember, it's important that you take care of your ears. Avoid exposing yourself to loud noises or for a long period of time. Listen to music at moderate volumes and wear hearing protection when necessary. If you don't know whether the place you're at is too noisy or not, just ask yourself if you have to speak up to make yourself heard. Curiosamente, if you have trouble hearing, learning will be more difficult. 1 out of 10 children and 1 in 3 adults suffer hearing loss, which affects their learning, interpersonal relationships, and quality of life. With the Sound Scouts app, you can test for hearing loss in kids or adults.